currents, yes, हम करेंगे आज currents करेंगे. Ocean currents. So before we study ocean currents, one small content that I have to give you, that is factors that are affecting the distribution of the ocean water temperature. So yesterday we have discussed in very detail about all of these aspects. The topic that we are going to study is factors that are influencing the ocean water temperature or temperature distribution. In fact, ocean water temperature distribution. So this is the topic that we are going to cover. Now firstly, on a broader level, what are the factors that influence the distribution of the ocean water temperature? Look, if this is the earth, now no doubt, of course, latitudes are the one which are going to impact the distribution of the ocean water temperature. Right? So, this is your earth. The first factor that influences the distribution is latitude. Okay? Now, how is latitude influencing the distribution of the ocean water temperature? In simple terms, you know that 6 months of the time there is sun here, and for 6 months there is cold. Right? Next, at the equator, on an average, when you look into, you have good temperatures. That means the water which is present at the equator, it will be warmer, and the water which is present at the polar region, it is cold. Right? So that means it is latitude which is influencing, right? And plus, wherever you have high temperatures, the ocean water height jo hai na, it is little bulged. In other words, if I have to tell you, on an average, when you look into the height of the ocean at the equator, that height of the ocean at equator is 0.8 centimeters higher as compared to any other area. Oh, thank you. Subtropics, the water temperature comparatively in the seas it is more. Okay? Now yesterday we have discussed about the temperature in vertical, right? And more or less the oceanic landforms that we have got to learn. Now see, I'll answer all your doubts, but for next 10 to 15 minutes I will not be taking any doubts, right? Then only I'll come back to you. Look, firstly, look at the shape of the earth. What is the shape of the earth? It's not a sphere, it's a geoid. Okay, what is a geoid? It is flat at the poles and then bulged at the equator. Flat at the poles and bulged at the equator. Right? Where do you have the high gravity? Is it at poles or is it at equator? Why do you have high gravity at poles? Because the gravity of the earth, major reason is there is something which is inner core and outer core formula. This is leading to the gravity. Now as you compare the distance from the center of the earth to the equator, it is more. Now, but the distance from the center of the earth towards the pole, this is less. That means anyone who is standing here, not just a person, the rocks, the water, they experience more gravity. And this water experience little less gravity. And you know that if the sun is there, sun sends good amount of rays at the equator, and the rays reach in a slanting manner. The intensity of the sun's rays is not too high, and whatever the rays that they fall in a larger surface area, so that's why they cannot heat more. This is what everyone knows. Now, because of that, the water temperature in this part of the area is warmer, and the water temperature in the polar areas is colder. Isn't it a latitudinal factor? Yes, it's a latitudinal factor. That's why the water always would like to move from, they try to sink, remember this, they try to sink at the polar region, they try to sink, and these water, they try to move towards the equator. Right? In general, I am talking in general, but in literality, this water, while they're trying to move from polar region to equator, equator to the polar region, they are experiencing different kinds of difficulties. Now that difficulties, we call them in the name of a land, unequal distribution of the land. Okay? Because in the northern hemisphere there is more land, and in the southern hemisphere there is less land, and look at the southern hemisphere, it is full of ocean. Right? There will be uniform temperatures for across the latitudes. Across the latitude, any latitude if I take, more or less the temperatures are uniform, the salinity is little uniform, as well as there are some other factors that can determine the movement of the oceanic water. Right? Just 5 minutes. Okay. And in totality, if you look into, see, you already know that land gets heated quickly, right? And the water gets heated slowly. Now look at this northern part of the earth. There is more land, and here you have less land. So once the heat is given to the water, don't they retain for more long? Yes, they definitely retain it for longer durations. Remember this factor, they definitely retain it for longer durations. This is something which I am going to discuss in the upcoming time period. दो चीजें मैंने बताया था, एक, once because of the sunlight you will have cold water, absence of sunlight you will have cold water at the poles, and presence of the sunlight and little heat. That's the reason why you have little high temperatures. Right? Now look, let me turn the earth like this. Don't you think that the water should be moving towards the poles? If I am looking the earth from a different side, don't you think that the water should be moving towards the poles? But ऐसा हो रहा है? नहीं हो रहा है. क्यों? क्योंकि every water which is present, if these are water molecules, each and every molecule will experience gravity, right? But the temperatures which are present, which are cold here, and the temperatures which are at the equator, they are warm here, this variation will lead to the movement of the water. This is the first reason why the water is moving on the earth. It is because there is difference in temperature, and to maintain an equilibrium the water is moving. Right? This is the first factor, and the primary reason is latitude. Right? Next is the factors that influence the distribution of the temperature. The second factor you need to learn is the unequal distribution of land and water on the earth. Unequal distribution of land and water on the earth. Yes? Look here. Look at this seas. What is this sea? This is Caspian Sea. If you have your atlas, you can keep your atlas open also. This is your Black Sea. This is your Red Sea. This is your Persian Gulf. This is your Mediterranean Sea. Now, because of the unequal distribution of land and water, this Caspian, Black, Red, Persian Gulf and Mediterranean Sea, they comparatively have warmer water with them as compared to the water in the open area. Why they have more warm water? Because this is continent. Continent will also give the heat to them. And one more thing, they are all present on the western margins of the continent. Are they not present? This is the eastern side of the continent and this is the western side of the continent. So these continents which are present on the western margins of the continent, they'll receive less rainfall. And there is good amount of sunlight during the times of summer. And there are deserts. Any small water which is there, it will be evaporating. Now with all these factors, these waters will have high temperature. Now these high temperatures are primarily because there is distribution of unequal land and water. But when you go to the southern hemisphere, let me show you. Look at 40 degrees latitude, 50 and 60. Look at this 40, 50 or 60. Now at 40, 50 and 60, this is the minimal land on the earth. You have very minimal land on the earth, so that's why the winds will be faster, the movement of the water will be faster, and evaporation will also be faster. Everything will be faster. If the evaporation is faster, the rainfall will also be faster. Why and all I'll explain in the next 15-20 odd minutes. Right? Now let's try to understand the other factor, the third factor. The third factor which influences the distribution of the ocean water temperature is prevailing winds. That means wind will also decide what kind of temperature should you have at a particular place. So everyone draw the earth and please show me where the winds are moving from east to west and where the winds are moving from west to east. Easterlies and westerlies, please draw it on your map. Draw a circle and show me easterlies and westerlies with respect to latitudes. Good evening, Hanjana, Hemavati, Prince. You need not draw the entire tricellular model circulation. I only want you to draw the easterlies and westerlies. Draw करो. ऐसे ज़रूरत नहीं है. बस latitudes draw करो and show me where are easterlies and westerlies. Just between which latitudes. वेरी गुड. अरे रंगोली नहीं बनाना है, जल्दी. ठीक है, कम लुक हियर. सी, everyone knows that the winds that are present here, look, if this is your equator, what kind of winds do you have between equator and Tropic of Cancer? Here you have these are easterlies, right? Next, this is subpolar region, right? So here what kind of winds do you have? Between 30 to 60 you have westerlies. And what kind of winds do you have at the polar region? Right. So these are your polar easterlies. And easterlies are nothing but those winds which move from east to west. So from west to east, if these winds are moving, these winds are called as westerlies. And these are at the equator, these are also called subtropical easterlies. Right? Suppose in this belt, if the winds are moving in this direction, don't you think the water should also move in the same direction? Why the waves are generated? The waves are generated because winds create the generation of the waves. So in totality, this is also something you need to remember to understand how the movement of the water is taking place. So let us try to understand this particular phenomena. Now this is also applicable to the southern part as well. Here also you'll have easterlies, and here you have westerlies, again you have easterlies. So this is 0 degrees latitude, this is 30 degrees latitude, this is 66, and this is 90. Right? Where do you find the fastest winds? Where there is absence of land. So where do you see the absence of land? Southern hemisphere. That means the winds are faster, then the water will also move faster. Furious 40s, furious roaring, screaming. Suna hai na aap log? 40, 50, 60s. That is also associated with the ocean water as well. Now let me try to show you, and let us try to understand how does the winds move in the latitudes between equator. This is your equator. Okay? And this is your Tropic of Cancer. Between equator and Tropic of Cancer, you actually have easterlies, right? These are easterly winds. Now look at Africa. Africa, the winds are offshore or onshore? Offshore. If suppose the winds are coming onto the shore, see, if the winds are coming onto the continental area, for them this is onshore. Okay? If the winds are moving away, this is offshore. Right? So look again, we are trying to understand how the winds are going to influence the water. Now as the winds are moving away from Africa, okay, and they are entering into South America, this is how the winds are moving, right? Now, don't you think that the water should also move in the same direction? Yes? The same diagram I'll be drawing in a different way, and I'll try to explain how the winds are influencing the distribution of the ocean water, and which will lead to the formation of the currents. Right? So, let's see. Imagine this is your ocean. Okay? And the vertical distribution of the ocean, you all remember? What is it? This is your top layer. Then you have intermediate layer, and this is your bottom. Whatever we are going to study is with respect to only this part of the layer. Okay? Now I am not going into the depths, I am only explaining what is happening in this part of the layer. That means, and I told you, here the total water is 10%, but this 10% is the one which is deciding what kind of lifestyle and life forms you have, and the temperature and climate as well. So come back, see, in this part of the region, the winds that are moving will actually influence the top water. The top water volume of the water is only 10%. Let's imagine this is a region which is present in the easterlies belt. This is how the winds move. Right? Winds will start to move in this direction. Let's imagine this is your South America. Okay? Right? And let's imagine on the other side you have Africa. Okay? Only for representation I am drawing this. Don't just imagine that this is across the coastline. Imagine this is your Africa. So winds are moving away from Africa. Right? So here, what should be the directional movement? Let me call this as east and this as west. Winds are moving from east to west. Water will start to move in east to west. So here, the water will also move in the similar direction. Right? That means from the west coast of Africa towards the east coast of Africa, the water started to move, and the water will start to pile up here. After piling up, what happens? The water will start to sink. And then, as the water is moving from this region, from east to west, from here, you will slowly start to see some water starts to rise up. Right? Like this, the entire water will start to form a cycle. there is continuously water moving from one place to another place, and then the water is sinking and the water is rising again. But do you remember that we have learned a concept that there is a top layer, there is an intermediate layer, and there is a bottom layer? Yes. Now let's imagine these are the waters. Now these waters, as and when they started to move and start to pile up here, okay, just imagine the water moving and starting to pile up here. In the due process, don't you think that the water depth or the water height of the ocean should be little lower because the water is moving from this place? Yes. In fact, you look into a big bucket and start to blow the wind. The water, usually the depth of the ocean, if you see, this is little lower. But here, the height of the ocean, if you see, it is little higher. Why is this higher? It is because, number one, piling up. Here, the water starts to move and the water will start to pile up. Okay? Can I call this as piling up area? You get to see the piling up of water. Right? As the water starts to pile up, the water will now start to sink. Okay? Some amount of the water will sink. They'll sink to what depth? They'll sink to a depth of 300, 400 or 500 meters. Okay? Maximum till the depth of thermocline layer. Right? And thermocline will not let the surface water which is there to go and mix with the bottom water. Now let's imagine that this is an ocean which is having a depth of 500 odd meters. Likewise, the water will start to move and try to go back to the same place. And this is called as upwelling. Okay? Look here. An interesting aspect is here is that you will have, as the water is coming from a depth, this water will be cold. And this water will be warm. Right? Isn't this wind that has influenced the presence of the cold water here? Now you tell me, which water will evaporate? Is it cold water or warm water? Warm water will start to evaporate. That means winds, while they are moving, they made this part of the area to be cold. Why cold? Because of upwelling. This is called as. Now, can I say that wherever I have cold water, there is upwelling of water? Okay? And look here. The water is coming from the below. Upwelling pena, good nutrition which is there, it tries to come up. That means nutrition ke piche fishes will also come. Beyond the fishes, small fishes, big fishes will come. And after the fishes, the fisherman comes. After the fisherman, the fishing industry comes. And overall, the economy of the fishing industry starts to flourish in this part of the cold area. Likewise, across the tropical regions, you look here, when I take the tropical regions, this is my tropical ocean. This is my equator. What kind of winds do you have here? Easterlies. That means what kind of water should I be having here? This should be cold water. Now, these winds, they start to move in this direction. If the winds are onshore, what kind of water do I have here? Hot water. Will it not lead to the evaporation? So, evaporation takes place and there will be good amount of rainfall. That means this part of the area receives very good rainfall. But whereas on the other side, the air is very cold, so there is no evaporation taking place. But is it not leading to the good fishing industry? It is leading to the good fishing industry. Right? So, there is a inverse relationship to the economy. Now here agriculture is very fertile. Agriculture will be good, but here fishing industries will be good. So this economy, the desert bordering economy, wherever you find deserts and next to that you have cold water, the fishing ports will be there. And like this, let us go to south. Let's go to this part of the area. Now look at South America. This is your equator. This is your Tropic of Capricorn. Again, what kind of winds do you have? The winds are onshore or offshore? That means this is how easterlies are there, right? Here the winds are moving from east to west. That means here the water starts to pile up. Here you will have cold water. Again, here you will have warm water, right? As you have cold water here, again, this part of the area will have deserts and will also have very good fishing industries. So South America is the best place where you will find fishing industries. Plus, now go across the globe. So will you have cold water or warm water here? I'll be showing you some parts of the globe. Based on the latitudes, you look and tell me. Everyone knows that this central is the equator, and this is Tropic of Cancer, and that is Tropic of Capricorn. So see here. What kind of water will you have here? Cold. Fishing industries? Yes. What kind of water do you have here? Warm water. Agriculture. Here? Cold. And here? Warm. Right. But let me take you to the westerlies belt. अभी तक हमने जो पढ़ा, that is easterlies, right? Where do you have westerlies? This is the area you will find from 30 degrees north to 60 or 55 degrees north, you have westerlies. Now you tell me, what kind of water should you have here? Cold. What kind of water should you have here? Warm. Right? You should be having warm water here. Next. Here? Cold. And here? Warm. So if you have your atlas, keep open your atlas. And for those of you who do not have, just share it. आपके पास नहीं? One more, I'll get it. And make sure to get your atlas every day. ठीक है? अटलस के साथ आना है रोज, ठीक है? एनी अटलस इज फाइन फॉर मी, प्रिफरेबली ऑक्सफोर्ड टीटी के अटलस. देयर इज अ मैप कॉल्ड ओशन करंट्स, ठीक है? एंड इफ एनीवन कैन हेल्प योर फेलो फ्रेंड्स, प्लीज हेल्प देम, पेज नंबर्स एंड ऑल. In the Oxford Atlas, it is page number 106, and TTK Study Today Atlas 99. ठीक है? There are few areas where you will find exceptions. That exceptions I'll tell you. And before we go any further, I know as soon as you look into the atlas, you will find lot of questions. ठीक है? Don't worry. I think that's not the page. Currents. Ocean currents करके लिखा होता है. $100, $110. See here. In totality, the primary topic that we are discussing here is Factors that are influencing the distribution of ocean water temperature. What kind of temperatures do you have at what places? First one is latitude is also influencing. Second one is unequal distribution of the prevailing winds. And the fourth one is ocean currents. ठीक है? Ocean currents. Now these are the four major factors that are influencing the distribution of the ocean water temperature at any given place. Sometimes you look here, you can tell me, sir, there is offshore winds, there are onshore winds. Irrespective of your offshore and onshore, latitude is the dominant factor with respect to the polar region, right? यहाँ गर्म पानी हो सकता है? नहीं. Now, I can also tell you that, sir, there are easterlies here. Don't you think that there should be warm water present here? But ऐसे तो नहीं होता. Here you need to understand, at any given place, one or the other can be having a dominant factor. Right? Here, latitude is the dominant factor at the polar region. Likewise, wind is a dominant factor at the equatorial region. In spite of the sunlight is very high, don't you think that wind dominated the latitude concept? I hope everyone is able to understand this, because this is very, very important. I told you that at equator the temperatures are warm. कौन सा पानी होना चाहिए? गर्म है ना? Warm water should be there. Then why are you having, in spite of the equatorial areas it is warm, why are you having cold water here? Because wind factor, that is prevailing wind factor, dominated the factor of latitude, and that's the reason. That means you should not come and ask me in the further time period that, sir, here there are easterlies, in spite of that you have warm water. There could be another dominant factor. That is what you need to understand. Now, across the globe, there are places where shipping industry के लिए ports cannot be established there naturally. They have to bend down and pray to these currents, especially Europe. See, you come to this Norway is present, and this Greenland. Look here, why is this Greenland an ice, but whereas Norway, it is not an ice? They are present on the same latitude, no? Yes, it is because there are actually warm waters present here. Greenland mein ports cannot be operated. But you go to this Norway, this is your Norway, Sweden, Finland. Here, all throughout the year, they are able to run their ports. You know why? It is because of North Drift. There's a stream called North Atlantic Drift. This North Atlantic Drift is the reason why you have warm water. And they have to pray to this warm water just because, in spite of winters there, the ships are able to move. Now, any latitude on this latitude, nowhere across the globe, the ships cannot be operated. That means trading is band. Buying and selling cannot happen. Whatever they have to do, they have to bring into the ships and store them within their country. Or else they have to find another alternative routes. Right? That should be the way. So in totality, the winds play a vital role as well as the currents play a vital role. And our earth has a unique set of moving water. That continuous moving water are called as ocean currents. And today we will try to understand the ocean currents. Right? Firstly, why are ocean currents formed? They are formed because of wind plus rotation of the earth. Okay? They can be formed because of the winds. Winds are the generating forces. Winds, they generate. But there are also primary forces and there are secondary forces as well. Primary forces are, that is, distribution of unequal heat. And there are also secondary factors that will lead to the formation of ocean currents. Okay? The primary factors are heating of the solar energy. That means in the equatorial region there is a lot of energy in the form of sunlight, and in the polar region there is less amount of energy which is received from the sun. That variation will lead to the movement of the water. Number one. Number two, wind. But wind is not a primary factor, it is a secondary factor. Another factor is salinity. I did not explain the concepts of salinity till now. After this topic I will explain. It is salinity. If a particular area is having more salt water and another area is having less salt water, that more saline water would like to move towards less saline water. So there are other factors also that also I'll explain. right? But in totality, primary factors and secondary factors are there. You can list it out. Primary factors are: 1, heating by the solar energy; second is wind; third is gravity; fourth is Coriolis force. Wind, gravity, Coriolis force, heating by the solar energy, right? These are called primary forces, and any other force is called as a secondary force. For example, if the wind is moving in the northern hemisphere in a straight line, there is a force called Coriolis force. It deflects towards the right in the north and deflects towards the left in the south. So that is the reason why you are able to see any moving water will experience Coriolis force. Now, can I move towards currents? And let's try to understand the ocean water currents. Number 1, factors are wind. Second factor, heating of the water by solar energy. And next, salinity. Next, gravity. And then you have where do you have more gravity? Equator or poles? More gravity. This is less gravity. Coriolis force. See, Coriolis force is a deflective force. For example, I already taught to you in the atmosphere concepts, if anything that is moving in the north, it will deflect towards its right. And anything that is moving towards in the southern hemisphere, it will deflect towards its left. That means all those things that are moving in the northern hemisphere, they are trying to deflect towards their north, and all those things which are moving in the southern hemisphere, they are deflecting towards their left. So this is how the resultant movements shall be there. Now, considering all these factors, we will try to understand how the water is moving and how the water tends to move around. So, first, ocean by ocean we'll go. Let's first go to the Atlantic Ocean, and look here. Atlantic Ocean is what type of what shape it has? S and S. Now, we will try to understand how the water moves in the Atlantic Ocean, in the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Okay? Look here. First, look at this. If I am drawing this red color, these are latitudes. Okay? This is equator, this is Tropic of Cancer, and this is subpolar region, that is around 55 to 60 degrees north latitude, right? First tell me, what are the winds directions in which you have? This is your easterlies or westerlies? This is your, that means this is the direction of the wind. And can I say that this is the direction of the wind? Right? And here, this is the direction of the wind. Right? So it is little difficult to understand the top one, but come here. I'll be trying to move the water here. See, as the water starts to move from Africa, you will find slowly the water to be upwelling or downwelling. यहाँ पे पानी क्या होता है? नीचे से ऊपर आता है ना, because the winds are moving in this direction, so the water is pulled from the bottom. So here the winds are generally moving in the direction, so the water tends to move in the same direction. Right? Now, as soon as it reaches here, what kind of water do you have? Warm or cold? Why do you have warm water? Basically, this water which started to move here, from here, don't you think that they are sinking? Here, downwelling is taking place. Here, upwelling is taking place. Got it? Now, I also told you the wind that is moving, don't you think that it has a Coriolis force? The water that is moving, it has a Coriolis force. Anything that is moving, be it a bird, it will also experience a Coriolis force. Aeroplane experience a Coriolis force. A flying balloon experience a Coriolis force. In fact, if it wants to move from this place to this place, the resultant factor is that it will not reach from point A to point B in a straight line. Rather, if the water wants to move in this direction, but they'll tend to deflect towards their right in the northern hemisphere. That means every body of water that is trying to move, don't you think that they are trying to deflect towards the north like this? Okay? They are trying to deflect towards the north. They deflect like this. But once they have reached the west coast of Atlantic Ocean, there is continent. अब continent बीच में आया. Likewise, in the southern hemisphere also you will find the same way. The winds tend to move and they are hit with this continent. Now where will the water go? The water, on one side there is sinking taking place. On the other side, the water will follow the path of the continent. That means, just imagine, from here the water started to move on the surface and it went to the continent on the west coast of Atlantic Ocean. There, the water is sinking and coming back. Okay? This is one circulation that is taking place. Second, the water started here. The water has reached till the west coast of North Atlantic Ocean, and then the water will move in this manner. Why are they moving in this manner? It is because of the continent. The shape of the continent is like this. So slowly, this warm water will start to move towards the north. Why are they moving towards the north? Two factors are there. That is one, Coriolis force. Okay? And yes, but again, as soon as you come to this part of the area, it is entering into the westerlies belt. You have come to the westerlies belt, right? That means the winds are moving in this direction. Slowly, the water should also move in the similar direction. And this water, over a period of time, when they are moving in this direction, towards the Norway, Finland and Sweden, they will get warmer. And they move like this. And a part of it will start to come and move backward. Why? Why is this water, they'll also deflect towards the right. It's like this. Again they come back and join. Coriolis force. सबको पता है ना Coriolis force, कोई doubt है यहाँ पर? Coriolis force, कुछ भी, anything that is flying in the north, it will turn towards its right. It will not go to the straight line. Any aeroplane, anything. Southern hemisphere, it is going to tilt towards the left. Right? This is clear. Now in a nutshell, can I tell that this is one full circulation? This is one full circulation of water that is taking place in the North Atlantic Ocean. And this circulation is called as gyre circulation. Okay? These gyre circulations will help in distribution of heat in the oceans. अब आप बताओ, I'll point some places. This is place A, this is place B, this is place C, this is place D. Okay? This is D. Now you tell me, where do you find rainfall? How many of you say that A has rainfall? Raise your hands. B has rainfall. C has rainfall. D has rainfall. Why C has rainfall? वाई सी हैज रेनफॉल किसने उठाया? करण ने उठाया और हर्ष ने उठाया. यस. ऑनलाइन वार्म अपवेलिंग सक्षम. वेरी गुड. यस. That means your water is not is the ocean water not deciding what kind of climate it should be there? Remember, in the tropical areas, I hope everyone understand the language tropical, subtropical. ठीक है? This is the tropical areas. In the tropical areas, can I say the eastern coasts are having cold water? How many of you say yes? In the tropical areas, the eastern coast has cold water. No. Suppose, let me repeat the statement again. I'll change the statement. In the tropical oceans, the eastern margins of the oceans has cold water. Is the statement right? In the tropical oceans, the eastern margins of the oceans will have cold water. See, when I am talking about an ocean, this is eastern side of the ocean, this is western side of the ocean. When I am talking about the land, I say this is west coast, I say this is as east coast. But you have to be thorough with this language. ठीक है? Examiner sometimes can confuse you and ask. Always, ocean, whenever the examiner is talking about an ocean, ocean का east side होता है this side, ocean का west side होता है this side. Now, I'll be dividing the latitudes here. Look, this is the latitudinal division. So, you tell me, the eastern margins of the ocean in the tropical ocean, are they having cold water? They have cold water. The western margins will have warm water. When I go to the temperate latitudes and westerlies belt, they are same, right? Temperate means 30 से लेकर 60 के बीच में. Between them, the western coast will have cold water. Sorry, the western side of the ocean will have cold water and the eastern side of the ocean will have warm water. Now, because of this warm water, I'm going to erase it. अगर photo वोटो लेना हो तो ले सकते हो जल्दी. Don't worry, I'll draw it again on the board. Right? Now see here, I'm going to erase this. Look. Come to this part of the area. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to draw it again. Look. Easterlies. This is how the movement of the oceanic water is there, and here you have warm water, and by the time they come here, this turned out to be little cold. This is your cold water, and comparatively this is also cold, and this is your warm. So this is point A, B, C, D. Quickly बताओ, at point A, do you have upwelling or downwarping? Upwelling. At point B? Downwarping. At point C? Upwelling. At point D? That means this is westerly winds. The winds are coming from west to east, and here the winds are coming from east to west. Right? This is how it is, right? And look, this part of the area, especially the Norway, UK, during the winters, this entire area, this part of the area is frozen. ठीक है, winters में, I'm talking about Decembers and all. But you still have the warm winds which are moving towards the Norway, Finland and United Kingdom. They used to trade all throughout the year. ठीक है, they trade all throughout the year just because of this current. Now there are different names given to these currents. The names are given just because of the places present next to them. See, here there is a small island called Canary Island. Okay? Now this current is called as Canary current. So don't you think that these two currents are north of equator? These currents, this is the north of equator, this is your equator, right? They are called as north equatorial current. Okay? This current is called as north equatorial current. In your atlas, you will also find another current by the name north equatorial or counter equatorial current. I'll explain how that is formed, but first try to understand this. Okay? And one more thing, you need not draw like the way it is seen on the board. Okay? You can also draw like this. Gravity problem. You know, whenever you wanted to write on the wall, your pen will not work. You know why? Gravity. You write like this, only the pen works. So you can also draw like this. Now you can start. Instead of showing it on a round map. Okay? You can use red color and blue color pens. Any doubts here? कहाँ पे? UK लोकल क्लाइमेट. ठीक है? क्लाइमेट, कोपेन्स क्लाइमेट मैंने डिस्कस नहीं किया अभी तक आपसे. In the United Kingdom, have you ever seen English movies? What kind of dressing do they wear? Long coat, एक hat, हाथ में एक डंडा, ठीक है, and a briefcase. Why is that? This is how you imagine British, right? When you ask a Britisher to imagine India today, they'll wear an Indian young youth fellow to be wearing a shirt neatly tucked in, a full sleeves, and a briefcase or a laptop in the hand with a bag. That is the figure of India in today. But down the line, 20-30 years before, if you look into, Indians means snake charmer se yaad aate the. Maybe they used to remember that a person in dhoti working in agriculture fields. Today we have changed. But in the context, I wanted to tell you that why are you able to remember the British man like that is because of the weather there. In the British, it will not tell you when I am going to rain. It rains all of a sudden. In the evening or morning, anytime it can rain. In the winters it rains. That is called as a British type of climate. I'll discuss this in a further time period. Though these are in a broader view we are discussing this. When you go to the climate chapter in detail, there I will discuss. Right? So Britishers, they wear that kind of dressing just because there can be rain at any point of time. That is called as British type of climate. Now why that climate is there, I'll discuss. Because it is present in between the ocean. In that area, British islands are present between the ocean. Evaporation takes place. The winds can come from this side, the winds can come from that side. So any point of time it can rain. So that's why you always remember the British. And British, why do they carry the stick? It is not stick, it is actually the umbrella. Right? And they don't go for bags and all because the suitcase that is made, it is waterproof mechanisms. That is how you will get to see. Now come back. See, broadly you got to see this is how the water circulation takes place. And one more thing. I also told you that cold water would like to move towards the warm water. Now, here, this part of the area will also have comparatively warmer. I am talking comparatively warmer water as compared to the water which is coming from this part of the area. See, this is your Greenland. Okay? And between Greenland and Alaska, there is some water which is coming and trying to mix at the east coast of Canada. Right? In your atlas, you will find by a place named Newfoundland. Okay? This is called as this part of the area, can I say that the water which is coming from here, look at this. This water is comparatively warmer as compared to the water that is coming from the poles. Can I say this? Yes. So by this logic, we call this as warm water. Okay? But this is not warm like the water which is present here. This is warm as compared to this water. Now, there are names that are given to them. See, here you have the Gulf. This is your Gulf, right? This is called as Gulf Stream, right? And this is called as North Equatorial Current. This is called as Canary Current. And this Gulf Stream, as and when it starts to move towards the north, what is the direction of the Coriolis force in the northern hemisphere? Right? So it deflected towards the right, and as it is moving away, it is comparatively warmer. Now this current is called as north. In the northern part of the Atlantic, there is a drift that is taking place. Drifting is, the water is moving in this direction, and then the drift that took place, and this drift is called as North Atlantic drift current. Right? And this water, there is an island called Labrador here. Labrador, the story of the Labrador dog. How many of you have seen this dog? Labrador. Very friendly dog. ठीक है, घर पे चोर भी आए ना तब भी देखते रहते हैं, and it does not do anything. Chor can, the thief can put it into their hands and then they can leave. Now this dog is the oldest human friendly dog, and it is the origin of this breed took place in this island called Labrador. There's a small island that is present here. Now this Labrador island, the place where they used to use this dog for fishing. See, this is a cold current that is coming. So during the winters, what used to happen is that there, jitne bhi water bodies hai na, they used to fill with ice. It is dog that can hear the movement of the fish. The top layer is filled with the ice. So dog used to go and identify, yahan pe movement zyada hai to the fishermen used to come and they used to make their holes on the ice. From there they used to extract. So this is how the dog used to get the food, because dog cannot break the ice. Dog made human as a friend just to get its own food, right? And the master and the dog, they respect each other's relation, and this relation became the oldest ever relation between a person who can talk and a person who can bark. Okay? So in totality, this is a small story that I told ताकि आपको याद रहे Labrador मतलब क्या है. This is called as Labrador current. Is it cold or warm? It is cold water current. Now this Gulf Stream and Labrador current, they are coming and meeting at this place, right? This is the place. Now, is this the place where you are going to see mixing of warm water and cold water? Yes. जब गर्म पानी और ठंडा पानी mix होता है ना ocean में, that is the place where you will find the best fishes as compared to the areas where you have cold water. Now, mixing of this cold water and warm water will give you very conducive environment for the species. So fishes come there, nutrients will be there, and every now and then the fishermen tend to fish that part of the area. Dunia ka sabse best fishing industry is also found here. And one more thing, to this there is a very wide continental shelf area. You can open your atlas, the physical map. Atlas में ना देखो, कल से आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, atlas होता हो तो you'll get that stick notes, right? Paste in each of the page world map, India physical map, ocean currents map, ताकि quickly you can open in the class and then look into. So any map you open, the physical map of North America, ठीक है? Open the physical map of North America. In the TTK atlas, got it? So, what is this place called? Labrador Sea. It is also named after that Labrador Island. Now, south of Labrador, what do you get to see? A wider continental shelf. Can I rub this? If you want to take a photograph quickly, do it. So look here. On one side, this comparatively warmer water came and meeting, and comparatively colder water came and meeting here. So what is this called? The Grand Bank करके देखा है आपने? Not found? Take it. The Grand Bank. Anyone got? Yes? Now this Grand Bank is nothing but, यहाँ पे दिख रहा है ना छोटा सा. Look here, this continental shelf. This is called the Grand Banks. Mean here continental shelf is wider, right? Plus good amount of fresh water is coming into this area. Fresh water is rivers also comes into this area, and cold water is also coming, warm water is also coming, and this part of the area receives one of the world's finest fishing grounds. क्योंकि depth of the ocean is not too deep. Continental shelf is there. Continental shelf depth is not more than 50 meters, 60 meters. So that's why good fishes can be found here, right? And wherever there is a mixture of cold water and warm water, what kind of conditions do you get to see? In the sea, if suppose cold water and warm water mix with each other in the atmospheric area, what kind of conditions do you see? Ecotone. ठीक है, that is in the water. I'm talking about the atmosphere. Ecotone बन सकता है यहाँ पर. Ecotones can be there. Fog formations will be there. So, have you heard of Atlantic accident? Atlantic icebergs. Where did the Atlantic sank? It is in this place. Why, you know? See, here cold water is coming, here warm water is coming, and this part of the area, you will have lot of fog formation there. Why fog formations? Temperature inversion pada hai na? So I told you that there is warm air coming inside, cold air coming inside. If they collide with each other, instead of as you increase your height, the temperature should get down, but in fact there is temperature increasing. This kind of conditions can be seen. Temperature inversions condition can be seen, and fog formations can take place. The major reason for any accidents in this part of the area is given credit to the fog formation. During the fog, the ships cannot have a very large visibility. Not more than hardly half a kilometer visibility, or 300 meters से ज़्यादा visibility होता ही नहीं है fog में. That too in the sea, the fog will be very thick. So here also you will find certain icebergs. From here, the ice is also sometimes moving towards this area. The ships, without a very advanced technology, they come in contact with the iceberg, and the ships get damaged, and the sinking of the ships is quite possible here. One of the best example is your Atlantic. ठीक है, Atlantic भी, sorry, Titanic. It's not the Titanic and the Atlantica. You can quote two ships, two major famous ships. They sank in this part of the area itself. Right? Okay. Look here. Now let's quickly draw this. See, here you have cold water. And as soon as this cold water comes, this becomes, comparatively, this is a warm water, and this Now why this water is coming towards this? Because of the factor of there is cold polar water and warm polar water. Now let's quickly give the names to them. What is the name of this? Why Canary Current? Because there is a small island called Canary. This is present north of the equator. So north, equatorial current. Very good. Next. This is Gulf. So this is called as Gulf Stream. And this is called as North Atlantic Drift. And this is so this is the best fishing grounds. So this is the reason why warm ports or ice-free ports in this part of the area. This is how the North Atlantic Ocean currents are there. Right? I have given you trace papers. ठीक है? कितने लोग ने ड्रॉ करने के लिए कोशिश किया? बन रहा है? नहीं बन रहा है? Yes? Very good. So practice for a little more time, you'll do wonders. So instead of, see, I am drawing like this, but in the exam, you can simply draw like this, one single thing. No, this is only surface water. I'm not talking about bottom water at all. Warm and cold, it is because from 400 or 500 meters the water is coming up. From west coast of Africa. Desert se. Look, here the winds are offshore winds. That means the wind is moving from land to ocean. So I've drawn this diagram, if you remember. This one. So for your understanding, what I'll do is, I'll make the ocean little more deeper. This is at a depth of 500 meters or 800 meters. This is 0 meters. This is 6,000 meters. Up clear है? आपने thermocline temperatures you have studied. Do you remember that we have drawn a graph yesterday? In the graph, what is the temperature that you have shown here? 10 degrees Celsius. 10 degrees Celsius मतलब cold होगा. Surface पे क्या temperature था? 27. Now as compared to this will have 27 degrees Celsius. This will have 13, 10, 12 degrees Celsius. Is it not cold as compared to this? पहले तो यहां से ट्रैवल कर रहा था, ठीक है. पहले यहां पे warm water is there. It traveled. As soon as the water starts to move from here, don't you think that the water from the beneath, bottom, they are moving upward? This is called as upwelling. This upwelling is the one you'll have cold water. That means the water here is coming only from 400, 500, 600, 800 meters. This water is not coming from the ocean water bottom. This is called as ocean currents. ठीक है. अब टेम्परेचर क्या होगा ये चेक करो आप. This could be having a temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Now this water can have a temperature of near about 13 degrees Celsius. Right? Here the temperature could be 9 degrees Celsius. Here the temperature could be comparatively downwelling हो रहा है तो it could be 18 degrees Celsius. Warm and cold is compared to something. It's relative. ठीक है? Now, what is the temperature here? 4 degrees Celsius. Now, can I call this as cold water? It is cold. Compared to this, it is cold, right? It is always relative. Geography is always relative studies only. Absolute studies कभी होता ही नहीं है geography में. If someone says it is cold, you can show a colder place on the earth. Right? So here we are studying this as a system. Any doubts still here? Clear? Shall we go further? No, it is everywhere on the earth. Prevailing winds concept is applicable everywhere on the earth. Now, yes? Dominion? Dominant in the subtropics and dominant in the mid latitudes also. Right? It is dominant in both. Canary current is cold because upwelling of water is taking place. No. See, I think there are some fundamental doubts that you have. One thing, remember, just follow me. Imagine this is water. Okay? This is your ocean. Right? Whatever I have explained, it is only the surface ocean water. Okay? So for that, let's consider this is a surface ocean water that is there. I'll erase it. Now what is the depth of the ocean here? 500 to 800 meters मान के चलो. This is your ocean, a depth of 800 meters. Clear? One thing. I talked about prevailing winds. That means if the winds are moving in this direction, one, the water here which is present will also move along with that. Imagine this is your water. This water, as and when it starts to move, it is exposed to the sun. Continuously it gets warmer. By the time it reaches to this side, comparatively, it is warmer. Next, if the water is moved from here, don't you think there is a gap that is created? वहाँ पे काली होना चाहिए ना, पानी नहीं होना चाहिए. There shouldn't be any water. Is it like that? No. So here, as this water started to move, the water which is present in the bottom, they will start to rise. Now you tell me the temperature at the surface. This is the temperature at surface. What is the temperature here? It could be 20 degrees Celsius in normal, but what is the temperature here? 10 degrees मान के चलो. Now the water which is having 10 degrees Celsius, it is rising up and it makes the water above also to be cold. Right? That means upwelling is happening here. Right? Next. So the same water, as and when it started to move, it is compared to exposed to the sun and it became warm. Now here, there is continuous movement of the water, piling up of water is taking place, and this piling started to sink. This sinking wants to fill the gap that is created, and finally, the same water started to come back and rise here. And the same water, they change their temperature and they sink here. So this is called as downwarping. Right? This is the bottom profile. Now please do not confuse with bottom profile with that of the surface profile. This is what is your bottom profile. Now, let's try to understand the surface profile. Surface profile is when you are watching this from the top. Okay? Try to understand this. Imagine the water started to move. The water will drift in this direction also. The water will drift into the board also. That means here this is the surface profile. Got it? Now the surface profile is this, the one which we have drawn here. This is the surface profile. अब clear है? ठीक है? चलो, let's go and do the. आप कोशिश करो. Go to the South Atlantic and try to draw the currents. ठीक है? That means I want you to draw the currents, only directions. I don't want you to draw the names. So this is your equator. And please try to complete the circulation of the oceans. I'll give you hints. Number one hint is, in the southern hemisphere, the Coriolis force deflects towards the left. ठीक है? If you're finding it difficult, see, it is very easy to draw this map here. For example, look here. I have drawn 3. This is also South America. 1 3 on the other side and the other reverse 3 on the other side. ठीक है? Or else अभी भी ये भी मुश्किल हो रहा है ना. एक ट्रायंगल ड्रॉ करो. ठीक है? एक बल्ज्ड ट्रायंगल ड्रॉ करो. ठीक है? इतना तो कर सकते हो. नाउ show me the currents, direction of the currents. Quick. Online you can drop it to my number as well. I'll look into whatever you have drawn. एंड आपको पता है ना, जितना ज्यादा विंड स्पीड होगा उतना ही ज्यादा कोरियोलिस फोर्स होगा. मैप ड्रॉ नहीं करना है, करंट्स ड्रॉ करना है. कहाँ? सदर्न, साउथ अटलांटिक. दिस इज नॉर्थ अटलांटिक, दिस इज साउथ अटलांटिक. ड्रॉ इट हियर. ड्रॉ करना. आई नो इट इज सेम. ड्रॉ वेयर इज अपवेलिंग, वेयर इज डाउनवार्पिंग. Where do you have warm water? Where do you have cold water? डन. पानी उल्टा क्यों जा रहा है? यस. ड्रॉ द ईस्टर्लीज एंड वेस्टर्लीज फर्स्ट हियर. Now using that, draw it. See, first thing, the water always moves under the influence of the wind. ठीक है. Good. Very good. हाँ, drift is everywhere. Good. Very good. ठीक है. Fine. दिखाओ. ठीक है. गुड. ना उल्टा हो गया ना. ठीक है. शो इट. ठीक है. चलो, लेट्स क्विकली ड्रॉ दिस. सी हियर. फर्स्ट थिंग, आई ऑलवेज टोल्ड वन थिंग. पहले क्या आपको देखना चाहिए यहां पर? ईस्टर्लीज वेस्टर्लीज आइडेंटिफाई करो. ठीक है. इट इज प्राइमरली ड्रिवन बाय दैट. सो इज इट फाइन? फर्स्ट आइडेंटिफाई द एरियाज ऑफ दिस. इज what kind of winds do you have here? Easterlies, westerlies. Right? Now this will solve the purpose. From here, the water will start to move in this direction. Right? And from here, it follows the path of the coastline. And then, as soon as it enters into the westerlies belt, it will deflect. In the southern hemisphere, what is the direction of the Coriolis force? Towards left. That means all this water, they wanted to move back to the same area. Now this is how one full circulation took place. Here you need to understand where do you have upwelling, where do you have downwarping, and where do you find cold water and warm water, right? Now this is called as South Atlantic gyre circulation, right? So here, first thing, will you have cold water or warm water on the point, I'll call this as point A, B, C, and D. So tell me, will you have cold or warm water here? Cold. It is cold. A is cold. Why is it cold? Because easterlies are moving, and from the bottom profile, what is happening? Upwelling is happening. So can I call this area as, this water as, here you will have cold water currents, and then here you will have upwelling in the bottom profile. Okay? As soon as the water comes to this part of the area, they are warm. And in the bottom profile, the water is sinking. And they follow the path of the coastline here. As soon as they follow the path of the coastline, look here, this water is entering into the westerlies belt. That means winds are coming and they are trying to push, right? So all these winds, they deflect towards their left. They are deflecting towards their left. Imagine they are coming from north to south. The deflection is towards the left. So these deflections will finally lead to the backward movement. Here you have cold water. Comparatively, you will have, these are cold. Okay? Sorry. These should be cold only. They are cold. Upwelling हो रहा है ना यहाँ पर. This is cold. Now this cold water, actually here, this water, they deflect towards the left in the southern hemisphere, and finally it comes back to the same place like this. Now there are names that are given to this. Open your atlas and look out for the names. What is the name of the current that is given to the current which is there on the west coast of Africa? It is Benguela current. West coast of Africa, you have Benguela. So there is a place called Benguela on the western coast of Africa. So that's why they call this as Benguela current. ठीक है, यहाँ पे एक जगह होता है Benguela. You look into the west coast of Africa, there is a city also. When you open the Africa map, you will get to see that. Next, is this south of equator or north of equator? So this is called as south in which ocean? Atlantic. And South Atlantic equatorial current. South equatorial current. Now come to the coastlines of Brazil. So it is moving across the Brazil. So it is called as Brazilian current. Yes? Same current only, no? Brazil. Now come to the South Atlantic. Okay. Here you have another island called Falkland. So this is called as Falkland current, and this Falkland current, there is a different reason for the formation of the Falkland current. Here Falkland current actually moves in the reverse direction. Why? I'll tell you after some time. Right? But more or less, here the water is called cold. Direction I'll tell you of this Falkland current. Now this current, see, this current name is given as west wind drift. And this is one of the most dangerous current across the globe. No one would ever dare to sail these west wind drift currents because Dragon's Passage or Drake's Passage, these are fast flowing winds. यहाँ पे पानी बहुत fast move करता है, wind also, water also, everything. So in totality, this is your South Atlantic Ocean currents. And here, the name of this is called as South Atlantic gyre circulation. G-Y-R-E, gyre circulation. Right? Now, is this true? Again, the eastern part of the oceans in the eastern part of the oceans in the tropical regions, are they cold? The western part of the oceans in the tropical oceans, are they warm? Yes. the eastern part of the oceans, in the tropical oceans, they are cold. Here you will find cold. What are tropics? These are tropics. I'm drawing the latitude. Cold, warm. Okay? Cold and warm. So this is true for the tropical oceans. This is how you are supposed to know about each and every ocean. Are you clear for this? Yes. 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 And one more thing. जहां ठंडा पानी है. Open your Africa map. Physical map. Yes, that's the map. Open. क्या हुआ? Yes? It's okay. Can you find a desert by the name Namib? Next to Namib, what kind of water do you find? Cold water. Right? Go to Canary area. Namib desert is in here. See, this is where you will find Namib desert. यहाँ पे. Kalahari desert, Namib desert. So that entire area, when you look into the physical map itself, don't you see a warm area there? Now that warm area is primarily because there is a cold current that is present next to it. हाँ, जब ठंडा पानी है, evaporation होगा क्या? When the water is cold, there is no evaporation. When there is no evaporation, then there is no rainfall. Right? Again, on this side, also the same. Whenever you have cold water next to continents, the continents will be of deserts type of nature, or else it is very dry area. This, it's a cold desert. Yes, it's because of the cold current. Right? Now go to the North Sahel region or Sahara region. Sahara and Sahel region. Sahara and Sahel regions are, this is your Sahara or Sahel region. If you want to take the photograph, quickly take it. Gone. Chalo. See here. Sea breeze और land breeze से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है क्या? Sea breeze, land breeze कौन सा wind है? Primary, secondary and tertiary? Tertiary. Tertiary winds में, do they have the impact to make a climate? It's a local factor. ठीक है? Rose, land breeze and sea breeze can be there. Every day it will be there. But it will not have a climatic impact. ठीक है? Sea breeze, land breeze से थोड़ा बहुत फर्क पड़ सकता है. Again, I'll come to that point, but try to understand this. What kind of water you had here? Desert है? And here you also find mountains. What are they? Atlas mountains. अब mountains होने के कारण, even if there is any rainfall, the rainfall will not cross those mountains and get into the Sahara. Now, poor Sahara, Sahel, all this region is desert region. ठीक है? This is Sahara. Now come to the Namib desert or Kalahari desert. Look. Cold water, cold water, cold water. So there is no evaporation. And that's the reason why this is a desert. Right? Next. Come to South Africa. Again in the South Africa, you look into the western part of Africa, South America. This is a desert. And come to this part of the area. This is also a desert. Now this small island which is called as Falkland. ठीक है? इसी को कहते हैं Falkland Island. Now see here. Now look here. Everyone look onto the board. See, there is a current where one current that will not have any obstruction of the movement because of the land. Right? That is this. Look at my stencil. The water, while it is moving, is it having any land obstructions? No. So is it a westerly belt? Is it present in westerly belt or easterly belt? Are you sure? See, this is what is your 66, and this is your, this latitude is what? Tropic of Capricorn. Right? Now, what kind of winds do you have? Easterlies or westerlies? That means these are westerlies. This current, which you get to see, is it flowing in the westerlies? Now, this is one current which is not obstructed by any land. The winds are faster. So, obviously, it sails very smooth. Now, apply Coriolis force to this. The wind is coming from the west. Do you agree? The wind is coming from the west. This is west and this is east. So, the wind is moving from west to east, and your water is in the presence of westerly belt. Apply Coriolis force to this. It is deflection towards the left. Coriolis force deflection is always left in the south and right in the north, and that's the reason why you will see the deflection to be like this. All the water, they tend to deflect towards their left. Now this deflection is called west wind drift. This entire current name is called as west wind drift. Now open your atlas and go to the water circulation, ocean currents map. Do you find the west wind drift current is a continuous current all across the southern part? कंटिन्यूस चल रहा है ना, मैप में दिया है, right? And now coming to the Falkland current. See here, this deflection has led to the formation of Falkland current. So ये जो पानी है गर्म हो गया या ठंडा होगा? क्यों ठंडा होगा? Because I have told you the topography of the Antarctica. Antarctica is present at 3 kilometers on an average height, and the winds are sinking. These winds, while they sink, they are under the influence of gravity, and then they start to drift. So this entire current is a fast moving current, and it deflects. So a part of this current which is moving towards Africa like this. Look here, this is the same part of the current, all this water. What is the name of this current which is going towards Africa? Nana, Africa. What is the name of this current which is going towards Africa? Benguela. So Benguela, cold water current or warm water current? Why is it cold? Because the water is moving from west wind drift का extension ही Benguela current है. Right? Likewise, Falkland देखो. Look into the Falkland current. This Falkland current is also an extension of the west wind drift. Next, go to East Australian current or West Australian current, which is also having Luvian. And Australia एक यूनिक कॉन्टिनेंट है यार, मतलब अलग ही है. वहाँ पे ना टाइगर है ना लायन है, एक अलग सा कंगारू करके स्पीशीज है. देर आर नो वल्चर्स. If anything dies, vulture is not eaten, but there is a dog called dingo. Dingo eats the dead, right? And Tasmanian civets होता है वहाँ पर. The water is also different. So everything is different there. Likewise, your water is also unique component that is there in Australia. You have two maps for in your atlas. One map is the winter map or June, July, and other map is of January. Can you see a variation in the currents of January and June of Australia? Is it there in every atlas? I think in this atlas it is not there. कुछ atlas में नहीं है, but ठीक है. Let me explain here. It's an extension of the west wind. Actually, the water concentration is more here. चलो, leave that. If it is not there in your atlas, now listen to me. यहाँ तक कोई doubts है? Clear, right? Next. Can I take it off? So, in totality, this is how your currents move from one place to another place. And what is a Sargasso Sea? What is a Sargasso Sea? ठीक है, what is a Sargasso Sea? Sargasso Sea is nothing but this. This is called Sargasso Sea. No. Come to the North Atlantic Ocean. See, this is how the water is circulating. Right? This is actually called as Sargasso Sea. The water in this part of the area is not moving much. ठीक है? The nutrients that are there, they are standstill. Compared to this part of the area, the water is moving in a fast. Compared to this, the water is moving. Movement of water is more here. And in the central part, there is not much of movement of water because there are nutrients, and that nutrients will lead to the growth of the grass. ठीक है? The grass is grown in this part of the area. Actually, wherever you find the depth of the ocean is not too deep, there is some grass that is grown, and that grass is called as Sargasso grass. इसीलिए this sea is called as Sargasso Sea. A Sargasso Sea is a sea which is not having any land boundary. It looks like this. Just a minute. If you can see, this is how you have grasses grown in the central part of the area because of the nutrients concentration. See here. This is a rich of nutrient area. Right? And the fishes come to this part of the area to eat that grass. And that grass is a very fine grass, which we call it as Sargasso. इसीलिए, this is present in the North Atlantic Ocean, so we call this part of the area as Sargasso Sea. Yes, it is floating on the top. Like this, we also have a garbage patch. The Great Garbage Patch. How many of you know this? One. What is this Great Garbage Patch? That is found in Pacific Ocean. It looks like this. I am very sure your contribution is also there to this patch. ठीक है? This is called the Great Garbage Patch. How big is it? You know? Almost 20 times the size of your city. That is the size of this garbage. It is floating. ठीक है? It is very difficult to clean now. The UN is putting its hands, trying to do everything and anything. Whatever you throw into the ocean, anything that can float, it is finally glowing and collecting at this part of the area in the Pacific area. And US consumption इतना ज़्यादा है, for per capita you look into, all those waste, the microfibers, microplastics, they are coming and collecting here. So it is a difficult task. And because of this, as usual, you can think of anything that can happen to the entire fishing species जो होता है ना, the great garbage patch, very deep inside, full of garbage, water pollution भी होता है, species death will also be there, pollution is also there. So currently we are trying to work on this. Maybe while writing your answer, you can write about this as an example. Where is it found? It is found in the Pacific Ocean. Atlantic Ocean में Sargasso Sea is considered to be a positive thing. You have to write it in a positive area. So this is the great garbage patch, and see here, this is in comparison to the Greenland. So this is the size of the patch. Okay, come back. Likewise, let us quickly go and draw the currents of rest of the world. And before I move any further, I have to explain one more current. That is counter-equatorial current. Brazil है, this is south equatorial current, and this is Benguela current, South Atlantic drift, SAD, or else it is also called as west wind drift. And here you have a sea by the name Sargasso Sea. Clear. Now in your atlas, you will also find something by the name of counter-equatorial current. ठीक है? Counter-equatorial current. In the climatology, I told you something between 0 to 5 degrees Celsius, 0 to 5 degrees north and south latitude. What do you have? Doldrum. What is doldrum region? Winds? Yes, cold winds? No cold winds. Doldrum is a region where the winds are not much active. Yes, where the sailing ships get struck there. They cannot move. Why? Nahi pata. Why the sailing ships get struck there? Windy nahi hai to kaise sail kar sakta hai? In the modern day, it is not true. The sailing ships get struck there. It is a theory during the industrial revolution time period. So basically, I told you now, how come Vasco da Gama come to India by crossing this doldrum? It is because in the ancient time periods and the medieval time periods, for a ship to move from one place to another place, that ship usually travels under the influence of wind. They do not have motors. There are no industries then. There are no motors or fuel led. So that's why as soon as there is absence of wind, the ship gets struck there. Now, see here. Let's go to this part of the area. Especially, I'm going to now explain a concept called counter-equatorial current. See, these counter-equatorial currents are present 0 to 5 degrees north and south. Look here. Let's imagine this is 5 degrees north and this is 5 degrees south. Right? And this is your equator. See, the concept of easterlies and westerlies, where do they start? The origin of the easterlies and westerlies from the equator, when you go across north and south, at which latitudes the concept of easterlies and westerlies start? Easterlies कहाँ से कहाँ तक present है latitudinally मुझे बताओ. Easterlies are present between 5 degrees north to 30 degrees north, 5 degrees south to 30 degrees south. But what about 0 to 5 north and 0 to 5 south? That is called as doldrum area. Now this is a doldrum. Now why is it a doldrum? Because there is continuous evaporation that is taking place. Rainfall convectional hai, wind is local hai. So that's why if you broadly look into the concept of easterly starts here. Look, this is offshore wind which is moving in this direction. Right? Now this offshore wind, easterlies, likewise they are also easterlies. I hope you agree now. I am zooming and showing it to you. Look, from here you have cold water movement in this direction. What is the name of this current? Yes, what is the name of this current? The one which I have drawn on the board. North equatorial current. This is called as same like that. You will also have got it. But what about the water between 5 degrees north and 5 degrees north and south? Here, there are two factors. Do you remember the concept of piling of water? Where are they piling? Can I say this is a piling area? And this is also piling area? So if there is piling up of water, will the water move in one direction? If, just imagine, I have a pipe, maybe gardening pipe, and I've switched on the motor, my gardening pipe started to give water. If my pipe and water are continuously coming out, in the pipe the water is continuously coming out, will the water move only in one direction? In this direction the water is moving because of the Coriolis force, but the same way the water is piling here, a part of the water will also move in this direction. Right? Likewise, a part of the water which is from the north equatorial current will also move in this direction because there is piling up of water taking place. And this piled up water will start to move in the opposite direction. This piled up water will move in opposite direction. Why is it moving in opposite direction? One, there is absence of Coriolis force at the equator. Yaad hai na? Absence of Coriolis force is there. Second, there is absence of wind. So can I say that this part of the area is having absence of Coriolis force and absence of wind as well. There is no direction of easterlies, westerlies. So that's why all those water which are getting piled up here, the same water is also getting drifted, and the piling up of water is starting to move towards the other side. And this water is called as counter equatorial current. And one more reason is that in this area, the direction of the movement of the earth. See, the rotation of the earth is also one of the reason. It is not the only reason. Always, the direction of the rotation of the earth, is it from east to west or west to east? West to east. So that means from west to east, the earth is rotating, so the water also tries to move in the same direction. Now this water is moving under the influence of Coriolis force and easterlies. That means you have easterlies. This is easterlies. This is doldrum. Got it? Now these currents are called as north counter equatorial current. Right? And this is south counter equatorial current. Do you have it in your atlas? And I'm very sure if you are reading by your own, ये सब समझ ही नहीं आएगा. ठीक है? Even see, the beauty of geography is it is about visualization. You are reading something in a plain paper. and you try to imagine it on 2-dimensionally. Until and unless you imagine something in a 3-dimensional view, you will not be having that clarity. That is the only problem with geography. The day when you realize that whatever you are reading and trying to imagine it in 2-dimensional, you will not have the conceptual clarity. That's it. That is the only problem with this subject. You read and you wanted to look through 2-dimensional. As soon as I draw the earth like this, you should be imagining your earth to be in a 3-dimensional entity. It should be like this. I many times told you, this is how you should imagine your earth, in a 3-dimensional way. Any doubts? So what are the major reasons for the counter-equatorial current? One, piling up of the water on the western margins of the ocean, and the other one is absence of Coriolis force and absence of wind in the doldrum area. Next. And rotation of the earth is also one of the factor. Only one of the factor, it is not the sole factor. So these are some things that can be asked in your preliminary examination. Can I take it off? Done? Likewise, now these counter-equatorial currents are seen on every ocean. In the Pacific Ocean also you have a counter-equatorial current, north equatorial current, south equatorial current. That means across the globe you have some things that are common. Now come to Pacific Ocean here. Very easy Pacific Ocean. Now firstly, absence of landmass is there. Right? Look. Quickly, what is the name of this current? North equatorial current, which is in the Pacific Ocean. And this is South equatorial Pacific Ocean current. Right? Why are they moving? As usual, easterly winds hai. And these are also easterly winds. And in between you have counter-equatorial currents on either sides. Okay, which are moving in the opposite direction. Next. This water, it tries to move towards the south, and again you have west wind, drift. So this is how the circulation happens. And here also you see one full circulation you get to see. So tell me the points. This is point A, point B, point C, point D, point E, point F, G, H. So first at point A, cold or warm water? Everyone agrees. Why cold water? Now go to your atlas and look out for the name of the current. कैलिफोर्निया करंट है. ठीक है, क्योंकि यह देखो छोटा सा जो. Now whenever you want to understand in little more detail, go to the Africa physical map. There you will find this is California. So that's why it is called California current. Right? Californian current. North equatorial current. Now come to the B point. Cold or warm? Comparatively it should be warm. Now go to the east coast of Japan here. You find the current name Kuroshio and Oweisho. This warm current name is called as? Yes? Oweisho or Kuroshio? It is Kuroshio. There is an island by the name Kuroshio. It is Kuroshio pronunciation. Okay, this is your Kuroshio currents. Right? But like the Labrador current, there are also cold water currents that are coming from the polar region. That is Oweisho. So here you find Oweisho. यहाँ से आता है, polar region से water comes, and again, can you see the mixing of cold and warm water? What do you get to see? Good fishes. If there is continental shelf, again you have more fishes. Japan technology में बहुत strong है, तो what do? Is they take their ships and they station their ships there itself. But one big problem is that traveling में you have fog formation. So they never care fog. They have the radio frequency technologies. Using radio frequency technologies, they are even inviting the fish from one place to another place. This is an unethical practice in the ecology and biodiversity. What do? Is they go for bottom ocean trawlers. Okay? Fish, एक बड़ा ship, very big ship. Underneath this ship, they go for a very big net. How big net? almost the size of 100 times this classroom size. Okay? With that fishing net, they go and filter it out and they take it off. So very good fishing grounds. That's why the Japan also it's a very good fishing area, and it's a very good export of fishing area, also fishing industry also. Right? Right. Now come to this. Similarly, come to this South Pacific Ocean. What is the name of this current? So at F, what do you have? Cold water. Chalo, let's start from here. At point E, cold or warm water current? Warm किसने कहा? क्यों? It's cold. Offshore winds है ना? This is cold. What is the name of this? There is a name called Peru. Peru में Humboldt. See, there is a person named Humboldt. He's a scientist, and Humboldt के बारे में optional वाले बहुत कुछ पढ़ेंगे. Now this Humboldt is the first person who have identified that chalo, there is a cold water current which is leading to the concept of El Nino and La Nina, which you'll learn in tomorrow's class. So this Humboldt current is named after the scientist Humboldt. Humboldt, other name is Peru. Okay? You can call by the name either this as Peruvian or Humboldt. Okay? Peruvian current or Humboldt current. Next. What is the name of this current? वहाँ पे नहीं मिलेगा. Yes, it is on the eastern side of Australia because your Australia is here. This is your Australia and this is your South America, right? This is your North America and this is your Russia, Alaska. Yeah, this is Russia, मान के चलो. Clear? So in totality, again, the current name in the south is west wind drift. That's it. This is how the names of the oceans currents are given, as usual. Now take a minute time to sink in the names of the ocean currents in the Pacific Ocean. यहाँ पे H position में it is west wind drift. Peruvian current, Humboldt current. लंबा, हाँ लेंथ काफी बड़ा है. No, why warm? But there is another factor called west wind drift. In the south you have polar region, absence of land is there, west wind drift. So all the currents in the South Atlantic, South Pacific, beyond 40 degrees south latitudes are cold. Why? West wind drift. ठीक है? So again, quickly take the photographs and then. So here, interesting aspect is that all the currents in the South Atlantic and South Pacific, they are cold. Why they are cold? West wind drift, there is absence of land and the water is coming from polar area. ठीक है? See, let me erase this. Let me show you this. This is west wind drift, no? All the water, but one of this current is nothing but your Peruvian or Humboldt current. So can I show it to you like this? The extension of that. This is west wind drift. So Coriolis force is in this direction, and look here, the extension of this is nothing but Peruvian or Humboldt. And during the times of El Nino or La Nino, this is the current which is going to get influenced. ठीक है? Got it? And let me again explain you the concept of west wind drift. Look at from the South Pole. ठीक है? Look at this from the South Pole. See, I already told you that your Antarctica is a plateau. Right? This is Antarctica, which I have drawn here. Please try to imagine this in such a way. What kind of pressure do you have? The winds are sinking. That means high pressure hoga. The winds are sinking on this. What is the height of Antarctica? The height is on an average 3 kilometer की ऊंचाई पर है. Right? So here the winds that have come, don't you think they will be sinking? They sink. They sink in every direction. Now they sink and it's like this. That means the winds are sinking like this. The winds sink from 3 kilometers under the influence of gravity, and that too, these are cold winds. Cold winds इतना strong होता है ना. They are so strong, very harsh winds, cold winds which are sinking from 3 kilometers downhill, and then apply Coriolis force to this. Towards? Don't you think it is the same? It is nothing but anti-clockwise. And this same thing, if you broadly look into, the water will also move in the same direction, and finally it will lead to the west wind drift. Right? Got it? The same content will turn into west wind drift. So that is a very fast moving wind. Now this is nothing but your Pacific Ocean. Now come to Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is the very interesting ocean hai. How many of you are clear with the concepts of monsoon? Sab clear hai? So this is the month of June. And we'll also look into the December category as well. We'll very quickly will do. So in the June, where is your ITCZ zone? ये हो गया आपका ITCZ zone. So surface winds कैसे होगा? These are surface winds. They cross the equator and they turn towards their right. Right? It crossed the equator, Coriolis force is towards the right, so that's why all the winds would like to move in this direction. Right? Your oceanic water will also have a similar kind of behavior. Look. Here, this is how your ocean water moves. I'm using a different color for the ocean water. Your ocean water why? The winds are moving in this direction. So look here. These are southwest monsoon winds. ठीक है? Clear है ना? So if the wind is moving in this direction, don't you think the water will also move in the same direction? This is the real time winds that I have taken. ठीक है? So this is your equator. Look, these winds, once they are crossing the equator, they are moving towards the ITCZ zone. This is your ITCZ. Can I call this as ITCZ? All the winds would like to move towards ITCZ. So here, चलो, मुझे विंड्स ड्रॉ करने की जरूरत नहीं है बिकॉज आई हैव इट ऑन द स्क्रीन, राइट? सबको दिख रहा है ना विंड्स? Look at the water here. These are offshore winds or onshore winds? Offshore winds. टेम्परेचर क्या होगा फिर? कोल्ड होगा. But usually the offshore is not strong here. Here the offshore is not strong. In fact, these winds are entering into Africa more than they are into offshore. See here, most of the winds, they are crossing the equator and then just trying to move, right? So here the direction of the oceanic water will be like this. This is they move and then they move like this. Why are they moving? Because of the southwest winds. The winds are coming and this is how the circulation will be. Same way, the water will follow the path of the wind. And then here you will see the circulation of winds to be like this. ITCZ pass hai. Are you able to understand? It is the oceanic currents are moving just under the influence of winds in the Indian Ocean. Now this is the month of June. Okay, this is the month of June. Now let's go to the month of January. What happens in January? So June हो गया. अब let's go to January. So in January, exactly the opposite happens. Where is ITCZ? This is your ITCZ. Surface winds will be. This is how the winds are moving, right? Clear? So likewise, a part of wind system is also in this direction. Literally, the wind system entirely reverses it, like it's like this. Now the water system will be moving in this direction. In the earlier case, how the water system was? Ulta, na? Yes. That is how the water or the oceanic circulation in the Indian Ocean is reversing during the months of June and January. Explain. It's simply you have to write about southwest monsoons and northeast monsoons, the wind direction and the ITCZ zone. ज़्यादा हो रहा है क्या कंटेंट? चलो, समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं एट द एंड? क्या 2 घंटे के बाद कुछ नहीं होता. चलो, विल स्टॉप हियर एंड टुमारो विल कंटिन्यू. एंड आई वांट यू टू गो होम एंड रीड द चैप्टर ऑफ ओशन करंट्स, पेज नंबर 120 और 121. क्या? फॉर जून और which one? Jan. In your atlas you have it. एक बार atlas देखना, जिसके पास TTK atlas है, it is very clearly shown that the June and open the ocean, same map. Anyone who has the TTK atlas? उसमें लिखा है ना? This is January's ocean water currents. Got it? Warm and cold. See, usually at India, the concept of warm and cold is not that strong here. But you see, more or less the temperatures are same. That is the uniqueness of this Indian Ocean temperatures. And in fact, maybe in the month of June, this is where you have somewhere cold waters here. That's it. Not much variation is there. In your atlas also it will be given that in January only this part, that is this part, it will be little cold. But there's not much variation in the Indian Ocean. A uniform kind of temperature you will get to see. Usually, you should be having in the month of June and July very warm temperatures on the western coast. And tomorrow's concept is El Nino, La Nina. So brace for it. अच्छा इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है बट बहुत सारा चीज कनेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. एंड वॉट एवर वी हैव लर्न टिल डेट, जस्ट फ्लिप योर पेजेस और रीड द एनसीईआरटी चैप्टर्स ऑफ ओशंस. ओशन में द एनसीईआरटी चैप्टर नंबर दैट आई वांट यू टू रीड इज, प्लीज गो एंड रीड द चैप्टर नंबर 14, मूवमेंट ऑफ द ओशन वाटर, नॉट द टाइड्स बट द करंट्स. ठीक है, ओनली करंट्स का पार्ट आई वांट यू टू रीड. राइट? यस. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you online. And any doubts?